Jane Fonda, Tom Hayden. And he started asking me, hey, what are you going to do when the naked lesbians get up on the freeway and shut down the freeway? And I said, look, I'm hoping that you as a responsible leader will not have folks come up on our freeway and block lanes, because I'd be concerned about people becoming angry and getting out of their cars and starting to beat on the protesters. I mean, it's for their own safety. So I think that we have our special response unit that handles crowd control. Their organizational model is protect the first. Protect people's First Right amendments to rights to gather, to protest the government.
But then there is the public safety issue.
Then there's the public safety. See, what the biggest problem is not people that are being loud. It's peaceful protesters that get infiltrated by a handful of, anarchist type. That next thing you know, they're hurling. They get in the middle of a peaceful crowd and they start throwing rocks and bottles.
Oh, did you hear about Denver, where the police and the Denver Post got caught attacking their own police in a staged event?
No,
6 months ago.
Don't know anything about
Google. I'm going to put up on screen for everybody right now, guys. Google this. I'm going to get the exact headline. ACL looks at police attacking police in Denver. Police attack police in Denver and dressed up like anarchists. Yeah, for the news cameras to then demonize them, and the other cops didn't even know that these were police attacking them.
Well, I'd have a problem if that was the case. We're not in the business of inciting riots.
But I mean, you're aware in history that the police agencies have done that.
Well, I'll put it this way: I wouldn't be surprised if something like that has happened, because at law enforcement, there's good and bad and everything, and sometimes people become misguided. That's why it's important to have proper oversight. You have to make sure we have the appropriate level of supervision and management to ensure that we're doing the right thing.
But who is commanding police in Montreal, Canada, in Denver, in Seattle to do this?
I don't know. I can't speak for other agencies.
Well, we know who. Delta Force. That was in the Seattle Post-Intelligencer and the Seattle Times. And speaking of that, last time I brought up troops on the streets, you were giggling about it. But I know you're a news hound, because you're usually informed on everything I bring up. Are you aware that the Army War College, Northcom, and others have announced they're going to have 20,000 combat troops to engage the American people, and the Army War College says that their new mission will be to suppress civil unrest inside the United States?
I'm not familiar with that now.
Here is the Army Times.
Yeah.
Exhibit A. Exhibit A, United States Northern Command, U.S. Northern Command gains dedicated response force.
Uh-huh.
And if you read, they say it's for WMDs and stuff, but then they add for civil unrest. Here's Northcom presents Brigade Homeland Tours, regular Army. Here's another one.
Mm-hmm.
That's I believe that's Newsweek.
Well,
here's the Phoenix Business Journal. Arizona police say they are prepared as War College warns military must prep for unrest. IMF warns of economic riots.
Yeah, what I think that what you're probably talking about is instances where the resources of the local, state, and county governments are overwhelmed. That there may be a need at some point to have troops assist in quelling civil unrest. What I mean by civil unrest, I'm talking about violent unrest.
Burning cities.
Yeah, I was in L.A. during the Rodney King riots, and I can tell you that law enforcement response was pretty embarrassing. We
stood down.
Yeah, it was.
Why did that happen?
Lack of leadership. I was extremely angry because when you see people starting to burn down, and you just roll everybody that's clear. You just send out an all points, a call out for help for everybody. And my philosophy is that you put as many cops there as soon as you can. As soon as people see you making arrests and taking appropriate action, that will have a deterrent effect on anybody else.
If not the hysteria.
It just starts spreading. And so, I mean, during that, we lost 50 American lives. I don't remember the exact number.
You know what turned the tide, though? A lot of it was the Koreans and others up on top of their businesses.
Well, they had to protect their own businesses in some of the locations. And, to me, that was a very embarrassing situation for me because we should never, as police officers, let it get to a point where we need to have somebody else come in and do our jobs. We're the peacemakers in this country. We're the peacekeepers in this country, and our job is to not let organizational pride get in the way. Some departments may be hesitant to call other departments. I'll be the first to be on the radio asking for help from other agencies here in Central Texas if things start getting out of our hand for us.
Oh, you have the Denver Post. I'll put it up on screen, please. ACLU wants probe into police stage DNC protest, and it says right there, undercover police attacked other police, pretended to be violent, inflamed other protesters and officers during the most intense night of the 4-day event. So we got there. We're busy getting a rent car. So we're going to drive around in our RV. We drove there. And we are changed. Luke's there, and he says, these guys look like cops, and they're throwing things at other cops. Yeah. And then I watched Fox News, and it was, look at the evil anarchist protesters attacking police. And I said, looks like it's staged, but we don't know. I wasn't there. And then it turns out it was.
Yeah, well, if it turns out that it was, I can tell you one thing that won't happen here. As long as I'm a police chief, I won't tolerate.
Well, I mean, it was. I mean, the police admitted it.
Is that what that said? I didn't see
it. No, throw it back up on screen for him. See? Denver Post right there.
Yeah.
That's what I love about this new TV thing we're doing.
Well, yeah.
We can just put everything up. And see, this is what happened to me.
Yeah.
I got on talk radio, Access TV in 95, and I was covering the Federal Reserve, but I was more like a Ron Paul guy, more mainstream version. Yeah. People started calling me going, there were black helicopters south of Houston. They blew up a building. And I would laugh at them. And then I started seeing in other parts of Texas, and I found out they would Delta Force would covertly lease a building and buy a nursing home or in the middle of town and then blow it up. I ended up going to these events, and buildings are on fire, and there's troops running around, and police are coming up saying, turn your cameras off. And then you'd find out it was an urban warfare drill. And then the San Antonio police chief, Ale Philippus, refused to be paid off. They brought bags of cash in. I went to his office. I had an interview with the police chief. Mm-hmm. And he said that when I said no, they went and bribed other city officials to do an urban warfare drill, which I had the Rand Corporation documents that it was to condition the public for future martial law and to acclimate the police and governors to accept this. Now, then I said, okay, this black helicopter stuff's all real. I'm going to start going to these public drills with Marines. So I went to Oakland, and we got Hebron, Maryland, and we'd have police walk over with Marines. They turn their cameras off, but we'd sneak around the bushes and get it. And they would have role players screaming, I'm an American, not the camp. And the Marines would say, get ready for an execution. They put Americans down on their knees. And they practice shooting us in the back of the head. It's all on video, sir.
Okay.
I can give you all these. I'm telling you, just like I showed you the Denver Post.
Yeah.
And I went on the air, and I totally changed in 1998. I said, ladies and gentlemen, this is insane. And because they know most of the police chiefs are nice, most of the public are nice, they're going to incrementally give us excuses, incrementally. Yeah. And see now, we got to have them for civil unrest, the Army, regular Army deployed in America. See, that's my awakening. This is real. This stuff's real. Yeah. People can differ on my interpretation, but I've witnessed Marines training to take our guns with people saying, I'm an American, please no, not the camp. And then when CNN reported, Marines are training in Oakland today to go to Bosnia. It wasn't Bosnia. They were training for America, and I was there. And we climbed through fences, and we climbed around on our bellies. I've had troops before to confiscate footage from us in San Antonio, walk up and stick a 45 to our chest, grab my camera guy, slam him down, and take our camera and say, you're lucky.
Well, like I said, I can't speak to that.
That ended up by them being in the newspaper.
That's not happening here in Austin. And like I said, I'm the police chief in Austin, Texas, and my responsibility is to the people of Austin. And we believe that we have the resources to handle our own issues, and we have plenty of allied agencies near us that can help us. And I hope that we never get to the point where we have to turn over our own public safety to some other agency or some other entity.
Well, I want to say this. As things break down and we go into this controlled depression, I've been called a wimp by some people who always call for violence, but they never do it themselves, for not saying go out and riot and go out and blast and go out and burn. Yeah. So on record, I am nonviolent unless it means somebody's taking me and my children and putting us on Army trucks, which they're trained for. Houston Chronicle, they built FEMA camps. Yeah. So up to that point, I'm not going to a Mao Zedong re-education center. But to that point, I'm telling folks the enemy is not the police and the ground troop military, and it's only going to help the global architects bring in a new world order if we get to that point. So that's why I want to have this
dialogue,
this Congress we're having, because if we don't, I mean, this is very real, and you're going to see it unfold, Chief. Just watch.
Well, I think the important thing in a democracy is that we have to be informed, we have to be engaged, and I always tell people you can sit back and the reason I'm a police chief is I didn't like some of the things that I'd see, growing up as a police officer. And you can either spend 30 years in a career complaining about things, or you can position yourself to be a change agent. And I've always chosen to try to increase my sphere of influence so I can make a difference. So I think that the population and your listeners, that violence is never the answer. Violence should be the last resort in any situation. It should only be in a life or death situation. you've got to engage your government. You got to question your government, and sometimes maybe you need to run for office and be part of the decision makers so you can weigh in on which direction you want your government to go in.
Well, we need good people to do that.